What happens when a Hollywood icon steps onto a live talk show stage, expecting a friendly chat, but walks straight into a firestorm of personal attacks? This clash between Brad Pitt and Anderson Cooper didn't just make headlines, it redefined the boundaries of respect on national television. Nobody in the audience that night could have predicted the explosive turn of events. But as the cameras rolled, the tension built like a storm about to break. Stick around, because what unfolded next shocked the world and sparked a debate that's still raging today. It was a crisp autumn evening in New York City, the kind where the city lights buzzed with anticipation. The set of Anderson Cooper 360 Degrees was alive with energy, transformed for this special primetime episode into a more intimate talk show format. Bright studio lights bathed the sleek, modern stage in a warm glow, with oversized screens displaying clips from Brad Pitt's latest blockbuster, a gripping drama about environmental collapse titled Echoes of Tomorrow. The live audience, a mix of fans, journalists, and curious onlookers, filled the seats, their murmurs creating a low hum of excitement. Producers darted backstage, earpieces crackling with last-minute instructions, while camera operators adjusted their lenses, capturing every angle. Brad Pitt entered to thunderous applause, his trademark charisma on full display. At 61, he looked effortlessly cool in a tailored gray suit, his salt and pepper hair tousled just right, a warm smile lighting up his face as he waved to the crowd. He was there to promote Echoes of Tomorrow, a film he produced and starred in, drawing from real-world climate issues. Anderson Cooper, the silver-haired host known for his sharp intellect and unflinching journalism, rose from his chair to shake Brad's hand. The two men exchanged pleasantries, the atmosphere light and convivial at first. "Brad, welcome back to the show," Anderson said, his voice smooth and engaging. "This film is generating a lot of buzz. Tell us what drew you to this project." Brad settled into the plush armchair, crossing his legs casually. "Thanks, Anderson. It's great to be here. Echoes of Tomorrow is about more than just entertainment, it's a wake-up call. We've got incredible visuals of melting ice caps and devastated communities, stuff that's happening right now. I wanted to use film to make people feel the urgency, you know? Art has this power to connect on a human level." The audience nodded approvingly, a few clapping in agreement. Co-hosts, including a panel of guest commentators like a political analyst and an entertainment reporter, smiled politely from their seats, ready to chime in. But as the conversation flowed, a subtle shift began. Anderson leaned forward, his blue eyes narrowing ever so slightly, a telltale sign for viewers who knew his style. He wasn't one to shy away from tough questions, and tonight, with ratings on the line, he seemed poised to push boundaries. "That's interesting, Brad," he replied, his tone still friendly but with an edge creeping in. "You talk about urgency, but let's be real, Hollywood stars like you often preach from ivory towers. You've got this massive platform, yet when it comes to actual activism, like marching in protests or lobbying Congress on climate bills, you're noticeably absent. Is this film just a feel-good project, or are you avoiding the real fight because it's too messy for your image?" The studio fell into a brief, uneasy silence. Brad's smile faltered for a split second, but he recovered quickly, chuckling lightly. "Whoa, Anderson, jumping right into the deep end, huh? Look, I've supported causes behind the scenes, donations, partnerships with NGOs. But my strength is storytelling. Films like this reach millions, spark conversations that lead to change. It's not about being on the front lines every time, it's about using what you're good at." The audience murmured, some shifting in their seats. One of the co-hosts, the political analyst, interjected awkwardly. "That's a fair point, Anderson. Art can be activism in its own way." But Anderson waved it off with a smirk, pressing on. "Come on, Brad. We've seen celebrities like Jane Fonda getting arrested for climate protests. You're one of the biggest names out there, why not leverage that? Or is it because your lifestyle, with private jets and mega mansions, would make you look hypocritical?" Brad's jaw tightened, his fingers drumming subtly on the armrest, a small, telling sign of rising frustration. The camera zoomed in, capturing the flicker in his eyes. The audience gasped softly, phones already emerging from pockets to record. Producers in the control room exchanged panicked glances, one whispering urgently into a headset. "Do we cut to commercial?" But the show was live, and the drama was unfolding in real time. What Brad said next would either defuse the bomb or ignite it completely. And trust me, the explosion was closer than anyone realized. Keep reading to see how this confrontation escalated into television legend. As the tension simmered, Anderson doubled down, his voice laced with sarcasm that cut like a knife. "Brad, you've built a career on playing heroes, Tyler Durden fighting the system, Achilles battling for glory. But in real life, when the planet's on fire, you're content with a movie ticket as your weapon? Critics say it's performative activism. How do you respond to that?" The words hung in the air, heavy and accusatory. Brad leaned back, exhaling slowly, his composure cracking just enough to reveal the man beneath the star. "Anderson, I respect your journalism, but this feels personal. I've faced my share of scrutiny, divorces, family struggles splashed across tabloids. I choose to channel that into work that matters. Art isn't passive, it's transformative. Look at how 12 Years a Slave shifted conversations on race, or Fight Club on consumerism. That's my activism." The co-host fidgeted, the entertainment reporter trying to steer things. "Anderson, maybe we can talk about the film's cast, it's stellar." But Anderson ignored her, his focus laser-sharp on Brad. "Personal? Brad, this is about accountability. You jet around the world promoting films about the environment, while your carbon footprint rivals a small country's. Isn't that the definition of hypocrisy? Or are we supposed to give you a pass because you're charming?" The audience reacted now, half whispering in shock, the other half nodding in reluctant agreement. A woman in the front row wiped away a tear, perhaps empathizing with Brad's visible discomfort. Backstage, security hovered near the wings, sensing the shift. Brad's voice lowered, steady but edged with steel. "You're twisting this. My life isn't perfect, but neither is yours. We all have flaws. The point is, film can inspire action where protests sometimes preach to the choir." The studio lights seemed to dim under the weight of the exchange, the hum of cameras the only sound piercing the growing unease. Anderson smirked again, ready to fire another salvo. But Brad's next words hinted at a breaking point. "If this is how you conduct interviews, maybe I should reconsider why I'm here." The audience held its breath. What would Anderson say to push him over the edge? The real fireworks were just beginning, and the revelation that followed would leave everyone stunned. "Don't stop now. The climax is about to change everything." The studio lights burned hotter now, or maybe it just felt that way as the tension between Brad Pitt and Anderson Cooper reached a boiling point. The live audience of Anderson Cooper 360 degrees sat frozen, their phones poised to capture every second of the unfolding drama. The sleek set, with its polished desk and glowing backdrop of Echoes of Tomorrow posters, seemed to shrink under the weight of the confrontation. Producers in the control room were in chaos. One barked into a headset, "Get ready to cut to break if he walks," while camera operators swiveled frantically, unsure whether to focus on Brad's clenched jaw or Anderson's unrelenting stare. The co-hosts, the political analyst and entertainment reporter, exchanged nervous glances, their earlier attempts to defuse the situation now futile. The air crackled with anticipation, and what happened next would sear this moment into television history. But before we dive into the explosion, brace yourself, because Brad Pitt was about to reveal something no one saw coming. Anderson leaned forward, his voice dripping with provocation. "Brad, you say film inspires action, but let's be honest, movies make money, not policy. You're out here selling hope while the planet chokes, and you dodge the hard stuff. People want to know, are you just cashing in on the climate crisis, or do you actually care?" The accusation landed like a punch, and the audience gasped, a ripple of shock spreading through the crowd. A man in the back row muttered, "That's harsh," while a woman clutched her phone, already tweeting the moment. Brad's eyes narrowed, his fingers gripping the armrest so tightly his knuckles whitened. For a moment he looked like he might laugh it off, his trademark charm flickering. But then, something shifted, his expression hardened, and the room felt it. "Anderson," Brad said, his voice low and deliberate. I've spent years pouring my heart into projects that matter. I've sat with scientists, funded clean energy startups, and yeah, I've made movies that force people to think. But you sit here, throwing darts at my life, acting like you're above it all. Tell me, what's your carbon footprint, flying to every war zone for CNN's ratings? You want to talk hypocrisy? Let's talk. The studio went dead silent, the kind of hush where you could hear a pin drop, or, in this case, the faint buzz of a camera lens zooming in. The co-hosts froze, the entertainment reporter's jaw dropped, and the political analyst coughed awkwardly, muttering, "Well, that's a perspective." Anderson's smirk faltered, his face betraying a flash of surprise before he regained control. But Anderson wasn't backing down. He adjusted his glasses, leaning closer. "Oh, Brad, nice try flipping the script. But this isn't about me, it's about you dodging accountability. Your fans see you as a hero, but they deserve to know, are you all talk? You've got the money, the fame, why not fund a climate bill or chain yourself to a pipeline like real activists?" The jab was personal now, cutting deeper, and the audience reacted with a mix of gasps and murmurs. A young woman in the front row shook her head, whispering to her friend, "He's going too far." Backstage, a producer signaled to security, who edged closer to the stage, sensing the storm about to break. Brad's face flushed, his calm unraveling as he leaned forward, elbows on his knees, his voice steady but laced with fury. "You want real, Anderson? Here's real. I grew up in Missouri, watching my parents scrape by. I've fought for every inch of my career, and yeah, I've made mistakes, plenty. But I've also spent millions quietly on causes I believe in, from rebuilding New Orleans to clean water projects in Africa. I don't advertise it because it's not about clout. You want to call me a fraud? Look in the mirror. You're not asking questions, you're staging a takedown for clicks." The audience erupted, some cheering, others booing, torn between loyalty to Brad and Anderson's relentless probing. The cameras caught every angle, Brad's intense gaze, Anderson's tight-lipped pause, the co-host's stunned silence. The entertainment reporter tried to interject. "Guys, maybe we can talk about the film's impact?" But her voice was drowned out by the crowd's energy. Then came the moment no one expected. Brad stood, his chair scraping loudly against the polished floor, the sound echoing like a gunshot in the tense studio. "I came here to talk about a film that could change how people see the world," he said, his voice rising, raw with conviction. "But you've made this a circus. I'm done letting you twist my life for your ratings. If you want to talk about the planet, talk to the scientists, the activists, the kids fighting for their future, not me, not like this." He unclipped his mic, letting it dangle, and turned toward the exit. The audience gasped, a collective intake of breath, as Anderson called after him, "Brad, walking away doesn't answer the question." But Brad didn't look back. The cameras followed his every step, his silhouette framed against the glowing set as he disappeared into the wings. The studio plunged into chaos. The audience was on its feet, some shouting support, others arguing among themselves. Social media exploded. Clips of Brad's speech were already trending, with hashtags like #BradWalks and #AndersonVs.Pitt. Producers scrambled, one yelling, "Go to commercial, now!" as the co-hosts tried to regain control. The political analyst stammered, "That was intense," while Anderson sat back, his face unreadable, caught between defiance and regret. But the real bombshell was yet to come, a secret about Brad's involvement in Echoes of Tomorrow that would flip the entire narrative. What was it, and how would it change the way the world saw this clash? Keep reading, because the truth is about to drop jaws. The aftermath of Brad Pitt's electrifying walkout on Anderson Cooper 360 degrees reverberated far beyond the studio walls, igniting a firestorm that consumed social media, newsrooms, and dinner table conversations worldwide. Within minutes of the broadcast's chaotic end, grainy audience-recorded clips flooded X, TikTok, and YouTube, amassing tens of millions of views. Hashtags like #BradWalks, #AndersonVs.Pitt, and #EchoesOfDrama trended globally, with fans and critics dissecting every word, gesture, and glance. Some hail Brad as a hero for standing his ground, his raw vulnerability and steely conviction resonating with those who saw Anderson's questions as a cheap shot for ratings. Brad spoke for every artist who's been unfairly judged. One ex-user posted, garnering thousands of likes. Others sided with Anderson, arguing his tough questions exposed the gap between Pitt's on-screen heroism and real-world action. He dodged the accountability he preaches. A viral tweet read, sparking heated threads. The next morning, a bombshell dropped that flipped the narrative entirely. An investigative report from a reputable outlet revealed Brad had donated his entire $20 million salary from Echoes of Tomorrow to a coalition of climate research organizations, a detail he never mentioned during the interview. The funds had supported groundbreaking studies on renewable energy and disaster relief for communities hit hardest by climate change. The revelation stunned fans and silenced some of Anderson's defenders, who now faced accusations of rushing to judgment. "This is why you don't judge a book by its cover," one commenter wrote, alongside a clip of Brad's speech about his Missouri roots. The disclosure painted his walkout in a new light, not as an act of avoidance, but as a refusal to let his quiet contributions be weaponized for spectacle. Yet, it also deepened the divide, with some arguing he should have shared this on air to counter Anderson's narrative. Anderson, for his part, addressed the controversy on the next episode of his show, his tone measured but unapologetic. Sitting under the same studio lights, now dimmed by the weight of the previous night's clash, he acknowledged the intensity. "My job is to ask hard questions, to hold people accountable, even icons like Brad Pitt," he said, adjusting his glasses with a familiar flick. "But tough conversations require respect, and I hear those who felt I crossed a line." The statement drew mixed reactions. Some praised his candor, while others called it a half-hearted apology, pointing out he never directly addressed Brad's accusations about his own carbon footprint. The co-hosts, visibly more relaxed without the live tension, tried to steer the discussion toward Echoes of Tomorrow's message, but the audience's focus remained on the clash. The incident reshaped the landscape of celebrity interviews. Talk show hosts across networks began treading more carefully, wary of alienating guests or audiences with overly aggressive tactics. Industry insiders noted a shift in how stars approached promotional appearances, with some demanding pre-interview agreements to avoid personal attacks. Echoes of Tomorrow saw a surge in ticket sales, driven partly by the controversy, but also by renewed interest in its urgent message. Brad remained silent for days, letting the film and his actions speak, though he later posted a cryptic X message. "Art moves the world. Actions move it further. Keep fighting for what matters." The post garnered millions of likes, cementing his image as a principled artist. The public remained split. Online polls showed 52% siding with Brad, valuing his dignity and unpublicized contributions, while 40% backed Anderson, arguing his questions, however harsh, were valid in an era demanding accountability. The remaining 8% couldn't decide, caught in the gray space between art's influence and activism's demands. Media outlets ran think pieces from "Is Hollywood's activism performative?" to "The Power of Walking Away, Brad Pitt's Stand." The debate even spilled into classrooms, with professors using the clash to discuss media ethics and celebrity culture. For Brad, the moment became a defining one, not for his films, but for his humanity. For Anderson, it was a reminder that even sharp journalism can cut too deep. The studio, once alive with gasps and camera clicks, now stood as a symbol of a larger question: where's the line between accountability and spectacle? So, what do you think? Was Brad right to walk away, or should he have stayed to fight? Did Anderson expose the truth, or did he overstep for ratings? Share your thoughts below, and let's keep this conversation alive, because moments like these don't just entertain, they make us question who we are and what we value.